of interest, you know, and if he feels that this is worth the investment, you know, that doesn't mean
that's
that
just courtesy.
That too.
Anyone
invite you
like
to
dinner,
dinner, being a gentleman. It's almost like pulling out my chair for me.
I was gonna say that too. Like if I was to go up and invite a man to dinner, because I mean, with me, like I approached my husband first. Yeah, you know, like I have no issue. If I find you attractive, I'm gonna let you know, and I've always been like that. Yeah. And if I was to invite you to dinner, obviously, like I would offer to pay. Yeah. Or if anything, I will offer to pay for my half of the meal, like my cocktail or wine or soda or whatever I had, and then my meal. But if you offer,
and it's different in the dating scene. Like, I mean, we've talked about that, like the difference between being married and like when you're in the dating scene. Because if I were dating again, like on a first date, I would expect the man to pay. Because to me, it's like, it's a common courtesy, like you said, pulling the chair or opening your car door, those types of things. Like
and that
the actual
cost
dating.
Money.
Right. Thank you. So to me, that's acceptable. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that's
for
okay.
me, our first date, my husband was struggling single dad with 3 kids, and I was also single but getting a social security check. So I had more money. Right. And I paid for the first few dates because I didn't care. I just wanted love. Like, it didn't matter to me whether you have money or not. Are you a good guy? Do you have a good heart? Yeah. But all these girls out there, like, I need a man who's going to pay for my hair, my nails, my lashes. I'm like, girl, if you want that, you get a job and you pay for it yourself. I don't like that.
That's fair, yeah.
I pay for my nails.
With women who
are like, if a man wants a girl like that, like high maintenance, and they commit to marry them, your money becomes the same. So they need to know she has maintenance bills and like buying a car.
Don't be shocked if you
want the upgrades, you got to be ready to pay for it.
Oh, I like that.
But not when you're dating. Like that's her job.
Yeah, exactly. You better learn how to do her hair, bro.
I saw a TikTok the other day that this lady posted and said that if a man was to ask her on a date, he had to pay for her hair to get done, her nails to get done,
oh my gosh,
her Uber, the meal, and then her Uber home, all for him to go on a date with her.
And then she didn't put out, I'm sure.
Guaranteed.
But he probably expected it.
Yeah, because if I was a man, I would too. You're asking me to get your hair done. How do I know you don't have a man that you're getting your hair done for?
Jeez.
You know, like at this point, you want to be cute for the day. Girl, if you don't wear your
get on YouTube and get a tutorial.
That's not ask her out on a date.
Thank you.
Like, that's your bad. If you, look,
that's
high
terrible.
expectations, you wanted that.
Girl,
you wanted that.
And I think some of the girlies need to have a heart-to-heart with themselves and, you know, learn the difference between, like, I'm high maintenance and I have high standards, because I don't necessarily think that's inherently bad versus, and, you know, and excuse my French here, you know, stealing tips and tricks from women who partake in sex work. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be messy.
Is that not
you know what I'm saying? But I'm
like,
okay, and that's technically
maybe
what that
if you're
is.
not,
That's what they doing.
I mean, maybe if you're not putting out, you like a really good one. You know
right.
But I mean, that's called an escort.
Yeah.
As
Pay for my hair.
That's what I'm saying. That's a minimum of $1,000 for a first date.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
So,
no.
you know, I'm like,
unless we in Vegas on the Strip and you take me to one of these fancy restaurants.
That is like
that
have the sugar baby playbook. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to make sure my maintenance is done.
Exactly.
This, that, and the third. And that's fine. Literally no shade. No, you know, and I think that's all acceptable if that's the lifestyle you choose.
Right.
But you can't be, you know, pulling stuff out their playbook and then just be like, well, you know, I'm just a woman who has standards. No, you're doing a little too much, and that's okay.
And
if you don't go down to Kim's Beauty Supply.
Thank you.
And go get you a $20 wig. Go to Walmart, get you some press-ons and some $7 strip lashes.
Girl, and call it a day.
Call it a day. Hello.
He won't know the difference.
He will not know the difference.
Nope.
Hey,
they don't even
how
notice.
many men going on that date are married?
Oh, snap.
Talk about it.
That's
what I'm saying.
Conversation.
Thank you, because they're more concerned about that pocketbook versus his integrity.
Thank
so I'm
you.
like, you know, call a spade a spade. Stop doing that.
Thank you.
Right. But hey,
Mic
but we
drop.
got too high of standards. You know what I'm saying? Run that bag. All right. So, I mean, we talked about how standards have changed a little bit, right? And how originally money, of course, a man would, right? So, do we feel that maybe men feel pressure of expectations higher now because women are no longer considered property or subservient or like they need a man to survive?
Definitely.
Oh,
That puts more pressure on the man because the woman's independent? I don't understand
Definitely.
the question.
yeah. Does he feel like
Yep.
he has a higher standard because she ain't sitting at home barefoot and pregnant?
Oh, because she doesn't need him, so he has to shape up.
Yeah, and she
Yeah.
can buy her
Yeah,
own
well, yeah.
property.
You can't
I
go
can
out
buy
here.
my own boat.
So,
Right. You can't go out
maybe-
here and work
my
late
mom-
nights and cheat at the bar with the bartender.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, listen, your woman
she can
knows.
Pay her own rent.
Your woman knows.
Yeah.
And by the time you get home, she's gone.
Our tuition's on point.
Yes, it is.
And we got
100%
stuff now.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
My mom went through some things, and when I got out of college, she was like, you're buying your own house, you're doing this, and made me do it single.
That's awesome.
Because she wanted me to learn that I can take care of myself and I don't need a man to survive. Best thing she ever did for me. And so I never felt like I needed a man. Right. I don't think my husband felt more pressure because I was independent, though. I think it depends on the man. Because, some men, if they're not insecure men, that's not going to put a lot of pressure on them.
I think it allows them to raise to that level. Sometimes it can also be an inspiration.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I need to, raise up to her level.
Yeah. And then sometimes it's definitely intimidating when a man approaches you and they're like, oh, like, how much is your rent? You're like, oh, no, this is my house, baby.
Yeah.
Like, all of this, this is in my name. And they're like... because they're probably not on that level yet.
Right.
And maybe they're not mentally or financially ready to be on that level. So,
but again, you don't have to discredit that,
Yeah, definitely. I agree completely.
I mean, there's no reason you have to discredit that. And to me, sometimes that's a reason for them to step up.
Right?
Yeah.
And then sometimes it definitely makes them step down too.
Yeah.
They're like, she's too much for me in this moment.
And that's totally fine. You don't want somebody 50-50. I mean, I know, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, we should both be giving 100. That's when it's going to be completely satisfying.
Yeah.
When we're both completely happy in ourselves and our own careers and dreams, and then we come together. We're not looking to someone else to make us happy. That's what's healthy.
Or at least the drive to heal when you're together. Because everybody's got baggage, right?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, at least that we're not wounded kids showing up and
are you
hurting,
making
triggering each other, and
are you dragging me in the wrong direction?
Yeah,
that's good.
So, speaking of wrong directions, right? With such high divorce rates in we'll say the United States, right? So if a woman is asking too much of her man, right, or her expectations are just so unrealistic, the things that we talked about we really want, is it okay? Is there a green light for him to go get fulfillment outside of that relationship?
Wait.
No.
So we're clarifying if she's got too high
He's not
standards. Can he
happy.
go out and play?
She's too needy. He don't
if
do
they're
nothing
married
right.
or just in general.
We can talk about both.
In general, I don't
I
think
would say you in a committed relationship.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's
that's
never
wrong.
an excuse.
I
I
mean,
would cheat. There's no valid reason
just have
to
a
cheat
conversation.
on your
But
life
I'm not
partner.
happy.
Just have a
Don't
conversation.
listen to
first.
me.
You know what I'm saying?
If you're that unhappy, go down to the courthouse.
Yeah,
Thank you.
do it the right way.
Yeah.
That's how I feel on it.
Yeah, or have a conversation. I mean, it's bare minimum.
Because a little conversation can fix so many problems.
Can go a long way.
And a lot of people don't realize that because a lot of people don't communicate nowadays.
I feel like if someone's going to cheat and then blame their partner, they're not being honest with themselves.
They was probably going to cheat anyways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They were
That's
looking
a
for
heart
reason.
issue. That's a personal issue. That's something you need to take care of between you and God.
And
it has nothing to do with your partner, how they're
Exactly.
satisfying you or not. Because if you're not satisfied in yourself, there's something wrong
I'm not
there.
responsible for anyone else's happiness.
Right.
And some people
Except
don't
my
even
own.
realize their partner's not happy.
Right. Because
and then the
don't
partner's
talk.
out cheating, but
Yeah,
they had no
communicate.
idea anything was wrong.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a conversation goes a long way.
Yeah, to me that's
definitely.
just communication is bare minimum. It's
true.
So why do women have such a hard time deciphering if their man is unhappy?
Because men don't. I feel like men. Being with my husband, he has a terrible time communicating, and I'm a over communicator.
Yep.
So we have to find
you're
a
a woman
common.
and he's a man.
That's a stereotype, but
I feel like I have a man who can communicate quite well. So
No, my
it is
husband is
stereotype.
terrible. My mom tells me all the time. She's just like, he can't communicate. I was like, I know, we're working on it. But coming from the perspective of someone who is married to a man that does not know how to communicate, a lot of men were not taught growing up how to communicate. They're just like, why are you crying? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Men don't cry. Boys don't cry. Yeah. So they enclose those feelings and they try and compress them and deal with them internally rather than coming to their spouse or to a family member and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this,
or any amount of vulnerability.
And none of it.
It's not really taught. So
that's
I think that's why a lot of times you may not know, or we just assume everything is fine without without really initiating the conversation. Like, hey,
because men
happy?
definitely
like,
they can cover up their emotions very well.
For sure. I mean, that's what they've been taught to do since they were.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel like that's why.
If we give them the safe place, if we let them know, like, you're okay to express yourself, like, I'm not going to shut your feelings down, like, they'll feel safer to communicate because they maybe are used to just being closed down, shove it in.
If you show up vulnerably, I mean, I think it allows other people to be vulnerable too.
Just continue to communicate. You can communicate with me, you're okay to have feelings.
But it's also hard when they've been taught the complete opposite their entire life. Like 25 plus, 30 plus years. And you come in, you're 2 years in, and you're like, hey, it's okay. You can be soft with me.
Yeah.
It isn't
you can communicate with me. It's not. Because me and my
Yes.
husband, we're 6 years in from dating, 3 years in married. And we're just slowly getting to that point where he's just like, okay, like, I'm struggling with this. Or like, I just need help to break this down because this is what my thought process is. And I just need your input on it to help me process it. You know, so like, it does take a very long time to get to that point, you know, so like it's definitely hard. And I mean, if you're willing to stick in there and do it, it's gonna be a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's gonna be a prize once they do just come willingly to you without you having to ask them.
To piggyback off of what Marissa said, you know, like being that safe space for them, you know, like I know for myself, like it's also not just about telling them, but it's about showing them, you know, because I know sometimes I could be like, you know, you can tell me anything, like, you know, like, and I genuinely do mean that. I don't ever have the intention of you telling me something and I'm going to harbor it against you. Right. But I know that if I am feeling hurt, you know, or something like that, my reaction may not be as savory as I would have hoped it be, you know, and I think at that point you're reinforcing the belief that I can't, you know, be open up and honest and vulnerable with her, because I know that if I do, this is going to be her reaction. So to save myself the headache or to keep my peace, I'm just going to shut down and, you know, and keep it quiet, you know? So I think it's more than just saying it, but also like, you know, showing it and then having those check-ins with your partner and being like, hey, I just want to check in. Like, everything's been going great, but like, let's sit down and talk about it. Let's get it all out on the table now. And then we can like move forward. So that way resentment doesn't build.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, true.
So I heard it was said that a man had said, and he was speaking for all men, that the women in their life would rather see them fall off their white horse and die than to fall off.
What does that mean?
What? Basically, that women beat them up for being vulnerable. Like you better be that knight in shining armor. And if you're not, then there's this other side where the women in their lives are the hardest on them for that vulnerability. So if we say, oh, this is a safe place, why does it not feel like a safe place for them when they come home at night? Like, why can't they tell you what they're really feeling if you're in a loving, committed relationship? Like, what's the gap?
I mean, I think it's, I don't know. That seems so dated.
Whoever
society.
Whoever said that has really been hurt. And they honestly weren't in a safe, loving relationship. There is better out there. Like,
are they saying the same thing? Because I was reading something the other day where some man was saying, you know, like, I don't open up to women because, you know, women have showed me that, you know, like they don't want to hear about our feelings, right? And so I can't tell somebody that they're right or wrong in that feeling. That may be your experience, and I apologize that is, right? But someone brought up an interesting point that, you know, women don't like a lot of things, and that doesn't stop y'all from doing it. Like, you know, like cheating, for example. You already know that cheating is not something that she's going to be fine with, yet you're still talking to other women, yet you're still looking at women. But when one woman shows you like, oh, maybe I couldn't be vulnerable, you're like, fine, that's it. I throw my hands up and I won't be vulnerable anymore, right? So I'm like, you know, I'm not trying to be like, you know, let's, you know, blame men kind of thing. But like you said, I think that's a little bit dated. And I think sometimes it's used as a cop-out to not be open and honest. Yes, you know, trying to create that safe space for you. But eventually you have to take it upon yourself to, you know what I'm saying, like, do the work too.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, figure it out and learn how to communicate, identify emotions, like all of that.
And can we just set the record straight? Like, that's not true. We don't find it unattractive and weak for a man to have emotions. Like, that is hot.
I was about to say, I find it very attractive.
Oh my God.
For a man to tell me how he feels.
Open up, cry on my shoulder.
Right.
Like, we love that. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you want an equal partner. And that elevates us to be needed and wanted, just like you want to be needed and wanted.
So it goes back to the word perception.
Yeah.
For
sure. Who is creating this perception? Is it women or is it men?
Well, I think it's the dogs. A lot of women will say, yes, open up to me. I'm a safe space. Yeah. But then a man will tell her something and then she nags about it.
Yeah.
And she doesn't realize that what she's doing is causing him to back away. And so he doesn't want to share his feelings because she always nags about it. Right. Or somehow in the future uses it against him.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not cool.
I can see the perspective on that for sure. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the standard that men need to have for us. Like, that's abusive.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't nag me.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Either move forward together or just, you know what I'm saying, like, you're going to have an uncomfortable heart-to-heart about where that relationship is going. Because you can't constantly keep nagging somebody.
Because at the end of the day, communication rules the nation.
Right. But I think,
that's good.
And I hate to be like this because I hate when people are like, oh, you know, like, I understand social media definitely does impact the way that we see things. But I think, you know, like, I saw this TikTok and they were saying, like, they logged into their account. It was a woman. She logged into her account, pulled up the comments on a video, and they were all geared towards, like, you know, boo, men suck, you know, rah, you know, feminism. That's great, feminist. But you know my point. She pulls up the same video on her boyfriend's account, and the comments are the total opposite of that, right? And so I think, you know, like, it was like, you know, women do too much, you know, women be shopping, stuff like that. Yeah, and so I think, like, it's hard for me to go like, oh, well, I think it's women or I think it's men who are, you know, putting all these expectations. I think, you know, like, one, the economy is tough, so, you know, people just arguing. But
there was something to talk about.
Right.
There's
I think
just
if you're
bigger
just sitting,
factors at play here.
Exactly. That it's hard to just pinpoint one area. So thank you for saying that in a much more concise way.
I think when you want to hold your standards up here for someone, you need to meet those standards.
That's right.
Yep. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that. Oh, I'm going to hold these high standards for somebody else, but I don't even meet them.
Yeah.
Okay. That TikTok I said earlier with the girl that asked the dude to pay for the hair, makeup, like the hair and nails. I guarantee you she was probably not working and still lives with her mom.
Yeah.
Probably.
But you want this man to spend $1,000.
Tell her, hey, pay my gym membership and my protein powder.
I need you to fill up my gas tank.
Thank you.
I need you to pay for my haircut.
Thank you.
And I need my chains cleaned.
But I feel like when you're with someone and you love them, you want to do those things. You shouldn't have to be forced to do those things. It takes the joy out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think you brought up something that kind of, and maybe we'll pivot here with like gender roles or like traditional roles and things like that. You know, I believe in like traditional relationships, so like it doesn't bother me none. But you were saying like, you know, she was like, you got to do this A, B, C, and D before the date. And if he goes, okay, well, you got to like pump my gas, you got to do this, you got to do that. Guarantee you her response would have been, you the man. That's what you're supposed to do. But I'm like, okay, but then that same man, I guarantee you, if he asks you about cooking and cleaning, you don't do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you know, I don't know. I just always think that that's interesting. So I was like, if we pivot
There's two
there.
sides.
Exactly. I'm like, if you want a man that's 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund, hate that sound. But you know what I'm saying? That TikTok sound. Then, you know, like, you might have to get in the kitchen every once in a while and chef it up. You know,
have y'all
like,
seen that one woman that's going viral on TikTok that cooks everything from scratch for her husband?
Oh.
Dude.
I know who you're talking about, but...
Love her to death. Her husband lets her stay at home. It's always been her dream to be a stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home wife. And she is the definition of a stay-at-home mom and wife. She cooks everything from scratch. She doesn't go to the store and buy anything. She grows everything in her vegetable garden out back. And her husband also helps her around the house. He cooks, he cleans, he bakes, and he works to make sure that she gets her dream.
Wow.
And beautiful family.
Whatever
absolutely beautiful.
And sometimes it's the opposite.
Right. Yeah.
Like, everybody
gender roles. It's a real thing in 2024.
Yeah. But everybody's always on her comments like, you're doing too much. Like, nobody's doing that anymore. that's what she wants to do.
Yeah.
And if that fits her lifestyle and her husband's okay with that and her husband's happy and her kids are healthy and happy, why does it matter to you?
Right. And let's keep it real. She's at work. She getting paid on TikTok. Let's keep it
real.
That too. That too.
I'm getting paid to make my man the best meal ever.
Right. And you're going to sit here and watch it.
Yeah. Hey, right?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's cool. Like, some women get tons of satisfaction from that. More power to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's the opposite, and that's okay too. I'm
yeah,
raising my boys
completely agree.
to be okay with if they want to be the stay-at-home parent. Like, I taught my kids it's about equality, and it's about whatever your personality traits are. Like, it's not based on gender. Like, whatever you're good at, that's great. Be good at that. And whatever she's good at, be good at that.
Right. Yep.
And let it happen together. Balance each other out. There's no stereotypes in my house. So
because that definitely makes everything roll a little bit smoother.
Yes. Instead of forcing someone in a box because you're a male or you're female, it doesn't matter. Like, what are you good at?
Right.
So, how does two alphas make it work?
Silent. I mean, everybody has strengths, right? So if you're really a partnership in a team, you know, I mean, I think sometimes it's like 80-20. Like, if he's only giving 20 one day, I'm going to pick up the 80, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, like, you can still both be alphas, but like figure out what works for you. Because I'm definitely a very career-driven woman. Like, I work, I have a nice job, I have kids, like, I do all this stuff, and my husband is really not, so it works well for us. But I could imagine, like, in a relationship where there's two very dominant personalities, that it takes a lot of conversation, a lot of compromising, and just, I don't know, just general grace. Like, okay, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm good at, and we're both going out and getting it, you know?
Yeah.
Mutual respect.
Yeah.
That's where it's at.
I think there's too many people in the world to like say like this is the exact formula on how a relationship
right.
should go. Yeah. You know, like literally if they're happy and it works for them, who am I to say that that's wrong or my way is better? You know what I'm saying? So I think that's really what it boils down to for me.
And you can be alphas in different areas.
Yeah.
Like, my husband is very social and like loves that and talks to anybody and everyone, and I freaking hate it, right? Like, he's in Walmart talking to some lady and I'm like, God, let's go. You know?
But came in for orange juice.
Right.
Like, you balance each other.
But like, he can like light up a room and he smiles all the time and is talking to everyone and does all that stuff, and that's his lane, and it's great, and he's an alpha in that. I am not. You know? So
my husband and I are the same way, except I'm the social butterfly.
Yeah.
So and he's just over here like
different alpha personalities.
Yeah.
That's what's up. I think it is a balance. It's a tiptoe. Even with one person clearly being the leader.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
For sure.
You definitely got to figure out what works for your own relationship and your own household. I think definitely goes back to respect, a connection. You got to have a connection, because at the end of the day, let's say somebody did just didn't sit right. You know? Like, how can you handle that? Do you communicate? You keep saying communicate. Hey, I agree. I think communication is glue. Mm-hmm. So if your communication is stonewalling, no communication at all, because let me tell you, that sucks. Hey, have you ever gone on punishment for 4 days because you pissed your man off?
Yes.
Yep.
It happens.
It's the worst.
In real life.
Yeah.
I
definitely
toxic.
I had to.
Definitely toxic.
Definitely not comfortable.
Yeah.
Not comfortable.
Especially,
that's not normal.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, if y'all get into
abuse.
an argument and, like, my husband's my best friend.
Right.
He is. And, like, I come home from work and I'm just like, let me tell you the tea. Remember this girl that I was telling you about? And he sits there and he listens, you know.
Yeah.
So for 4 days, I can't come home and tell you, and I have to remember all 4 days to tell you on that 5th day because we didn't talk.
Right.
No.
That's petty.
But I think there's a difference between, like, you know, like, maybe needing some space from your partner or something like that, or you've called them out on a behavior and they purposefully do not
punishing
talk to you.
you.
Because I've dealt with stonewalling, right? And it is to teach you, you know, like, don't do this again, because if you do, I'm going to just ignore you. So, like, if I'm trying to mend fences or, you know, make it work and you're ignoring me, you know, or, you know, like shutting me out or shutting down conversations, you know, I understand that sometimes people have boundaries and they're like, I can't talk about this right now.
Yeah.
But if we're in the middle of a conversation and you're just like, I'm done here, stop talking about it. Oh, I don't play that.
Got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Got
At least let me
you.
know when we can revisit the topic.
Yes,
I gotta
that's
respect your
respectful.
boundaries, and you don't want to talk about it right now. But
Got you.
stonewalling is
The question was here. I was over here.
Yeah, girl.
Yeah. What was the question again?
You're so happy and you're married. You're like,
it's okay, girl.
Hey, she ain't never been stonewalled.
No.
I actually have though.
It's that bar in New York.
I have. I have been in some pretty bad relationships growing up. Like I said, when I was 19, I was dating a 28-year-old.
Yikes.
Terrible relationship. That was the last relationship I was in before I met my husband. Mm-hmm. And he was when I was 19, the guy I dated, he was the first guy I had dated since like 8th grade. Yeah.
Girl.
And it was completely like gaslighting, stonewalling, narcissistic. Yep. It was terrible because he was trying to mold me into the woman that he wanted while also trying to mold multiple other women into what he wanted. And it was terrible. It traumatized me for years. Mm-hmm. And like it just finally got to the point where like I would see him like downtown, like around the bars and stuff, and I would have like a panic attack.
Yeah.
That's how bad it was. Like I've been through and I try not to talk about it much just because it's let the past be the past. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely like you said, like your husband said. Yeah. You know, like every time a woman's been Yeah.
Never settle.
Unfortunately, I have been stonewalled before. Mm-hmm. Okay. So
I'm thinking communication it must be the standard that they feel the most pressure with, because communication would fix a lot of the problems.
Mm-hmm. Okay? Well, but healthy communication.
Right, because we went to stonewalling. Then there's the opposite.
Yeah.
There's the FUB, you ain't S. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of throwing other relationships.
Trying to make you jealous.
Like purposely trying to cause deep wounds.
And what are you doing to your kids if you have kids in the house when that's going on?
Right.
Mm-hmm. I grew up with two parents that in my younger years fought all the time. Mm-hmm. And I swore I would never be in a relationship like that. So I dated a guy, first guy I dated in college. He got mad about something, didn't have anything to do with me, but he was upset and he punched the wall. And that's when I was like, we're done.
Yep.
Because I don't want to live like that. I don't want to fight with somebody like that. And I'm like,
But there's so many kids in America who are like, oh, at least he didn't punch me. Yay.
I know, and that's what's sad.
The wall.
Yeah, that's what's so sad.
Because eventually it will come to you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, thank God my parents never hurt each other physically, but they were constantly yelling, and I think that is I know, because I experienced it, that affected me and my choices in the future, and had a heavy effect on just my outlook on things as a kid.
For me, that was the final straw. Like, the reason I finally left abuse was my kids. Because I didn't value myself enough. I didn't know I deserved more. But when I saw how it started affecting my kids, I loved them so much. I was like, wait a minute. If they grew up and they were in a relationship like this, would I encourage them to stay? And I was like, heck no. Because I love them. Why am I staying?
Right.
And that really shifted my perspective. Like, we love our kids. So why not love ourselves and protect ourselves like we would our own children?
Yeah.
And I realized them seeing domestic violence was traumatizing them. And the cops told me, if you stay with this guy, we're going to take your kids away. Because that's abuse, exposing them to it. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that's it. Like, I love my kids. Bye, you're out.
Yeah.
Like, final straw, done.
Well, and statistically, a woman goes through abuse 8 times, at least 8 times before getting out.
Yep.
And I'm like,
it ain't easy to break that lie.
Yeah,
because unfortunately, when you are in an abusive cycle, your friends and your family, even your mind, is going to tell you to leave, but you're not going to leave until you're ready to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And until you're ready to, maybe that last time.
Yeah.
Because
they always say, I'll change.
Yeah,
I love you. Don't, you know, they pull that nonsense, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Yep. And he was like, oh, I got baptized. I'm saved now. I'm going to be good. Like, okay, that's great. God can do a miracle for you. I believe that. But you go be healed for someone else. We're done here.
There you go.
Like, I just was done. I loved myself too much to let it happen again.
Yeah.
That's real good.
Too many second chances.
And you are strong.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Real quick,
but that's my joy. Like, that's why I use social media, because I post all the time about healthy love. And it's not to brag about what I found. It's to show other girls there is better. You deserve better. Because I didn't know that. And I want someone to tell me on the other side there's hope out there.
Yeah.
You know, you
because that's your
find
testimony. You just want to let the world to know that. Yeah.
I wish someone had told me that when I was stuck in it.
There are so many women that are afraid to speak up for whatever reasons, whether it's embarrassment or, you know, different things. But I'm like, we need to get that message out that it's okay to speak up. There is help out there.
And women can be abusive too. My husband came from an abusive relationship as well. So definitely no shame in a man saying, hey, this ain't right.
I think women are more verbally abusive.
Oh my gosh.
But
and emotionally abusive too.
Yeah.
I feel like women are very, because we're mental creatures, they know how to hit it on the head with the emotion. Yes.
Yep.
Emotionally, without even touching you.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Were you going to say something?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Sort of related, but not related. But I was like, maybe we can talk about this too. You know, when we talk about women having high standards, you know, I do believe that that's true. You know, we're discussing it and I agree with you. But sometimes I think that when most of the people who cry that, you know, war cry, women have high standards, they're too high, you know, are too busy trying to focus on getting the woman that, you know what I'm saying, like, that don't meet theirs, that don't want what they want, right? Because there are plenty of women out there who do not have high maintenance, you know, you got to pay all my bills and all of that. But for some reason, they don't want to date them, right? They want to, you know, go to the high maintenance woman and try to, like, you know, bring them down a size. And I'm not saying that in a messy or rude way, but that's just something I've noticed, you know. And then when that woman rejects them because it's like, well, you're not fulfilling, you know, what I need, then it's, you know, oh, woman in these standards. And I'm like, there's plenty of women out there that, you know, do want the things that you want. Just go date them. You know what I'm saying? So
we're not too much. Just go find less.
Well, and just because they reach your standards doesn't mean they're the one for you.
Yeah,
I had to learn that lesson in college when I dated a guy who met every single standard on the book. And then
I got it like that.
Okay. And then I was like, I'm just not attracted to this guy.
Yeah, you can't change that.
Like,
there's that
great guy, love him to death. We're still friends, but I just wasn't attracted to him, and I tried to make myself. I was like, oh man. But just because they meet your standards doesn't mean they're the one for you. Yeah, and you may not, you know, like you said,